Hello, this is Little Green Ghouls, and welcome back to Goosebumps Revisited, Series 2000. This week, I'm excited to visit Bride of the Living Dummy. It should go without saying, this book will of course have no relation to the previous books in true Goosebumps sequel fashion. I found Bride of the Living Dummy to be on equal footing with the other Dummy books, which is to say, it was fine, I guess. There are some questionable moments, to say the least, with Slappy wanting a child bride so he can have a slave for life. I suppose it's worth reading if you enjoyed the previous Dummy books. The cover is pretty fun, although I won't lie, I'm not as into the Series 2000 style as I am the original 62. I like the little details like frosting skulls decorated with tiny flower eyes, and the reference to Bride of Frankenstein with Mary Ellen's hairstyle. I didn't find merchandise, but I did come across this retro GIF, which is apparently from the Fox Home website from 1998. This just makes me think of the clunky early internet websites as a kid, and I kinda love it. There are also a couple of concept art sketches for the cover. In these ones, it definitely feels like Mary Ellen has troll doll inspired hair, along with Bride of Frankenstein. The proportions in the second one are a little crazy though, and I don't like the lack of Slappy. I didn't see anything in the back of the book particularly noteworthy, but I do think the Series 2000 books do a better job so far of making the upcoming book look exciting. Our front take says, "It's a match made in horror," which is a play on A Match Made in Heaven. And again, I don't see a back tag this week, so maybe that's a thing of the past. I've also noticed the blurb on the back has now been replaced by an excerpt from the book, so let's check that out. Slappy took 2 steps across the floor. He grabbed Eddie Simpkin with both wooden hands, and with surprising strength, Slappy dragged the terrified boy across the room. "Slappy, stop," I choked out. He turned to me, evil grin wider than ever, his eyes ablaze with excitement. "This is my party now," Slappy screamed. "I want my bride." Okay, with that, let's start this summary. The book opens with our introduction to Jillian Zimmerman, who's busy feeding her adorable pet lizard Petey some dead flies for dinner. She's rudely interrupted by her twin 6-year-old sisters Amanda and Katie, and their ugly-ass doll Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen is described as being nearly as tall as the twins, with frizzy brown hair, a red heart-shaped mouth, strange violet-colored eyes, and blood-red circles painted onto her cheeks. She sounds like the kind of evil, ugly doll where you wonder why on earth would any parent ever buy it in the first place, like Annabelle. Jillian hates Mary Ellen, and according to the twins, the feeling is mutual, which is a little ominous. Jillian falls asleep around 11:30 and dreams about flying around town with her best friend Harrison. She's rudely awoken from this little adventure with a mysterious click in the darkness, and then a silver blade comes slashing out her throat. The light flicks on, revealing 2 creepy twins standing there with a long pair of scissors. They had planned on cutting Jillian's hair before she thwarted their attacks, claiming it was Mary Ellen's idea. Jillian needs to get a head start in this situation and burn Mary Ellen now. Jillian threatens to cut off Mary Ellen's head, and the 2 twins scamper off into the dark. It then jumps to Saturday afternoon, and Jillian is waiting for her bestie Harrison to come over. They've been BFFs ever since Jillian made him eat a mud pie 5 years ago. Jillian's Saturday plans get interrupted though, because she's supposed to take the twins to Little Theater for a ventriloquist show, and her mom suggests she just takes Harrison with her. The mom also thinks it's a good chance for Jillian to learn some tricks in children's entertainment, because I guess Jillian, like our previous Night of the Living Dummy protagonist, is interested in making money at kids' birthday parties. Well, there goes my hopes this book will switch up the dummy formula. Stein is shamelessly gonna have a birthday party scene in 3 out of the 4 dummy books. Although this time Jillian wants to be a clown instead of a ventriloquist, so that's progress. I don't know which is more believable, that a 12-year-old would want to be a clown or a ventriloquist. Neither seem likely. Before Jillian can leave for the show, they're all startled by the screech of a buzzsaw because her dad is hard at work on a coffee table. 10 pages in, and Stein is really laying out the groundwork for this book's plot points. One of these dolls is getting buzzed, that's for sure. The twins insist on bringing Mary Ellen to the show, and in a Slappy throwback, Mary Ellen suddenly slaps Jillian across the face. Although this could possibly be the work of crazy twin Katie. Amanda is apparently the calm twin. At this show, it's described as a full house, with hundreds of kids dying to see this ventriloquist act. Again, I call bullshit on the premise that all these kids are that into ventriloquism. This is a pre-Jeff Dunham era. Jillian's friend Harrison is into all of this, but Jillian is at her wit's end with these twins who keep insisting Mary Ellen needs her own bag of popcorn. Jillian snaps and slaps Mary Ellen across the face, which seems to stun the twins into behaving briefly. We also get to learn that this birthday party scene is in fact on the horizon because next weekend Harrison and Jillian are performing as clowns, so I wonder what new mild birthday terror Stein has in store for us. Probably not a whole lot. The curtains raise and Slappy finally makes his appearance. Slappy the dummy also had a smile that didn't quit. His round blue eyes slid rapidly side to side as if he was checking out the audience. Slappy had a wave of brown hair that stood up straight on his head. He was dressed in a red and white checkered sports jacket that reminded me of a tablecloth. A white shirt with a red and white bow tie, he had baggy gray slacks and black shoes, very big and very shiny. I'm assuming Slappy's gonna fall in love with Mary Ellen in the audience, but I've gathered from the cryptic comments in my last video that Slappy's gonna go a bit further than that in this one. The show starts out normal enough until Slappy's voice suddenly gets raspier and the act turns meaner. Slappy starts to dive into his specific brand of insult humor at Jimmy O. James's expense. He repeatedly tells this man he smells, he's worthless, and that he looks like vomit. Jillian knows it's an act, but thinks Jimmy O. James looks genuinely scared of Slappy and finds it unnerving. The twins are a little monstrous though, and they're loving it. It's then time for Slappy to interact with the audience, so of course the twins rush the stage with Mary Ellen in tow. It's not actually love at first sight between Slappy and Mary Ellen, and he begins calling her ugly too and saying things like that she needs a flea collar. He also goes after the twins by asking which one of them is using the brain today and calls them big drips. It's hard to muster up much sympathy for these twins when they were just trying to shave their sister's head a couple chapters ago. The twins return to their seats and Amanda is now crying about how she was treated. Harrison thinks he wants to do a ventriloquist act now because he says you can say horrible things to people and everyone just laughs. At the end of the show, the twins haven't moved past Slappy's insults and decide to tell Jimmy O. James he needs to be nicer, and they disappear behind the stage before Jillian can stop them. Jillian and Harrison go backstage and find themselves lost in a long dark tunnel that eventually divides off into two separate directions. They decide to split up, which is never a good idea, and Jillian finds herself outside Jimmy O. James's dressing room and can hear Slappy berating the man. She peeks around the corner in time to witness Slappy doing his trademark slap across Jimmy O. James's face, hard enough that he gives this man a bloody nose. Jillian is about to back on out of there when she's spotted by Slappy, who proceeds to fall limp. Jimmy O. James insists that he was just rehearsing, and Jillian learns that the girls never stopped by, so she leaves him and Slappy alone. She then locates the twins in the lobby at the water fountain, getting Mary Ellen a drink. It turns out the twins got lost in the tunnel and gave up on their revenge quest. Jillian ends up taking the twins to Dairy Queen without Harrison because he still hasn't returned. That's not a very good friend move. The boy could be trapped in a Mazo's basement. Once back at home, Jillian is startled to find Slappy on her couch, and even more startled when he starts cackling at her. Harrison then pops up from behind the couch laughing since I guess he now owns Slappy, because, wait for it, he found him dumpster diving. Stein just can't resist having kids root through the trash. Jillian goes to touch Slappy when his jaws snap shut on her hand. She thrashes and shrieks, but he won't let go. When they finally get Slappy pried off her hand, she has deep purple teeth marks in it. Jillian insists that Harrison takes Slappy back to Jimmy O. James, but they don't know where he lives. They dig through Slappy's pockets and find the dreaded magic words from our previous 3 books, but don't get a chance to finish reading them. It's dinner time, so Harrison heads on home, but not before dropping Slappy off with Jillian's dad, because the man loves to repair project and will polish up Slappy for Harrison. At dinner time, the twins push Jillian over the edge again with Mary Ellen. She eventually ends up slamming Mary Ellen's face into a plate of macaroni, which the twins say she'll regret. Later that night, Jillian can't sleep and decides to play a prank on the twins. She creeps downstairs with the intention of tying their shoelaces together into giant knots when she's frozen in fear after spotting Slappy just chilling in an armchair. Slappy growls at her to go back to sleep and Jillian nearly shits herself. That is until the twins pop up. I guess the twins are psychic and knew Jillian would be downstairs in the middle of the night tying shoes together. Jillian snatches up Slappy and heads back to bed. The twins beg her to stop so they can tell her something, but she just blows them off. Probably should have stopped and listened to these two little demons. The next day, Jillian and Harrison head over to the magic shop after school to buy some tricks to use in their clown act, when they spot Jimmy O. James. The kids tell him they have Slappy, and this sends the man into a moral tailspin. He begs the kids to get rid of Slappy before it's too late and then vanishes. They then spend an entire chapter perusing the magic shop, and it reads like page count filler. Once back at home, Jillian enters her room and spots Slappy dangling in Petey the Lizard's tank, and freaks out when Petey is nowhere to be found. Jillian interrogates the twins, and they seem to have no idea what happened to Petey. Then, in a rare twist, the parents actually take the protagonist's side and let the twins know that they went too far this time. As the family is fighting in Jillian's room, Slappy suddenly starts to move to their collective horror, but it turns out Petey was just crawling around inside of Slappy's head this whole time. Kind of like that evil worm that lived in him in Night of the Living Dummy 2. The parents force Mary Ellen into the top of a closet until the twins can acknowledge what they've done. Jillian decides to stick Slappy up there too because she still finds him creepy, and then he bites her again. This causes Jillian to recall Slappy smacking Jimmy O. James, but then dismisses this as nonsense. The next chapter opens at the 4-year-old's birthday party, where Jillian and Harrison are dressed as Zippy and Zappy the clowns. It goes on for a very long time as they try and fail to make these kids laugh repeatedly. At one point, they try to use a joke pie that's supposed to spray whipped cream into kids' faces, but when it does, instead of laughing, the kids start wailing in pain that it's burning their eyes. Jillian tastes the whipped cream and discovers it's been replaced by soap, so she just sprayed soap into a bunch of little kids' eyes. Jillian immediately suspects that this was the work of the twins, but I have to say the biggest twist here was that Slappy wasn't even at the party. Jillian and Harrison are then tossed out of the party, and just when it seems like this book is switching it up, we find out that they actually have a party next Saturday, and Harrison wants to bring Slappy. I don't get why it's so hard to come up with some new main plot points in a sequel for Goosebumps. At home, Jillian confronts the twins about the soap and whipped cream situation, but learns that the twins weren't even home, so they couldn't have messed with the trick. I feel like this wasn't a time-sensitive switcheroo, so I wouldn't be convinced, but Jillian believes him. At school on Monday, Harrison reveals the magic shop was out of ventriloquist dummies, but they gave him Jimmy O. James's address so they could borrow one from him or buy one. That sounds very unlikely, but okay, Stein. They bike on over to this guy's house, which is described as being in a bad area. When they reach the house, it's creepy and abandoned looking, but these kids proceed to march right on inside when they get no answer from knocking. In Goosebumps, kids are always just casually breaking into homes. They walk through the house calling for Mr. O. James and notice cockroaches scurrying everywhere. Imagine being this man just sitting in your mess of a house when two random kids come bursting through the door hollering for you. The kids continue through the house and come across a little dummy workshop where Jimmy O. James builds his dummies. Harrison is excited because he thinks maybe he can ask for a custom built one, but Jillian starts screaming when she says Jimmy O. James's severed head laying sideways on a table. This ends up being a dummy head replica of Jimmy O. James, unless Stein just stole a plot point from Part 3's episode adaptation and had Slappy turn this guy into a ventriloquist dummy. Harrison then spots a journal and starts reading it. He then declares it's Jimmy O. James's diary. It's not bad enough these kids are rummaging through this guy's house, now they're reading his diary too. Harrison mentions Slappy, and Jillian snatches the diary to see for herself, where she reads, "The puppet maker was not a normal man. At least that's what I heard. This is the story as it was told to me. The puppet maker was a sorcerer who used his puppet creations for evil. His puppets and toys made people sick with strange illnesses. He built dolls that injured their owners, toys that stole precious belongings while their owners slept. The sorcerer loved spreading misery and evil through innocent-looking toys. The dummy named Slappy is the sorcerer's most evil invention. He stole a coffin for its wood. He carved the dummy from coffin wood. And then the sorcerer sent his own evil into the dummy. The sorcerer's evil spirit lives inside Slappy, ready to be awakened by the reading of the evil magic words that the sorcerer wrote. The ancient words of sorcery to bring him alive are written on a slip of paper inside the dummy's jacket. When the ancient words are read aloud, the dummy and the evil comes to life. I have managed to somehow put Slappy to sleep, but I'm not sure how I did it. I only care that the dummy sleeps. I toss the dummy in the trash to be hauled away and crushed. My only hope is that no one finds him, that no one reads those evil words that bring him back to life." After all that work of putting Slappy to sleep, you'd think Jimmy O. James would have a better plan than just leaving the final disposal up to waste management. Also nice of Jimmy O. James to keep an air of suspense in his own diary by leaving out exactly what put Slappy back to sleep. You'd think that'd be a personal highlight and he'd have some theories. The kids are then interrupted by some mystery footsteps that they automatically assume belong to Slappy. But no, it's just a neighbor checking to see if somebody broke into Jimmy O. James's house because he just left town on tour. They all act like what they're doing isn't considered breaking in and then just leave the house without further event. For reasons unexplained, Harrison still wants to use Slappy next weekend, but Jillian is not into that. At home, Jillian's mom chews her out for being late because she's supposed to watch the twins while her parents go out for dinner. Jillian heads up to her room where she finds Slappy with a tube of red lipstick in his hand and the words, "Where is my bride?" scribbled onto the mirror. She corners the twins who are busy slurping up spaghetti, and they deny all knowledge of Slappy's latest adventure, and again Jillian believes them. She heads upstairs and searches Slappy for the mystery magic paper, but now she can't find it. She deduces that the twins must have brought Slappy back to life by accident by reading the magic words, and then must have been too frightened to tell anyone. Jillian then shakes Slappy violently and gets no result, so she heads to the bathroom to wash her face and calm down. Just as she's starting to relax a little, she hears multiple crashes downstairs in the dining room. When she gets down there, she finds spaghetti thrown everywhere and the two twins sitting there terrified with Slappy sitting at the head of the table. Her mom then calls, and Jillian quickly tries to explain the situation, but her mom just tells her to stop fighting with the twins. "I'm disappointed in you. Goodbye." Now I'm sitting here wanting to know what was the purpose of that phone call. She literally just called to say she was disappointed in her children and then hung up. Jillian returns to the dining room to find Slappy now missing again. She heads upstairs and discovers him on her bed, covered in spaghetti with the words, "Where's my bride?" scrawled in red lipstick on the wall above her bed this time. I figured we were well on our way to the book climax, but nope. We jump to the next day, and Jillian is explaining to Harrison how all three of them are now grounded because of the spaghetti incident. Jillian has locked Slappy in a suitcase and wants Harrison's help disposing of him. Harrison continues to be one-track minded and still wants to use Slappy for the birthday party this weekend, which Jillian objects to. We also get a fun, clunky explanation that this birthday party will be hosted in Jillian's basement because the birthday boy had a flood in his basement. Is this kid not allowed upstairs in daylight or something? They compromise, and Harrison will either find a new dummy or he'll use Mary Ellen. This story then moves right along, and we're in the middle of this birthday party with 6-year-olds this time. For plot convenience, the parents are all next door having a party of their own and have left Jillian and Harrison all alone with all these kids. They decide to start their little show with Mary Ellen and Maxie, a dummy Harrison just so managed to find in his uncle's attic. For more plot convenience, they've also stored Maxie and Mary Ellen in suitcases. When they go to open Maxie's, they of course find Slappy in his place. Harrison is like, "The show must go on," and insists that Jillian use Slappy. For this entire second half of the book, Harrison has demanded Jillian use Slappy while he uses a different dummy, and it's like, why did they never compromise and have Harrison use Slappy, since Jillian is so terrified of him? They proceed on with the performance, and as per usual with this birthday scene, things are fine at first. until the real Slappy starts to take over. This time, he jumps right into a Mr. Wood original and proceeds to spew putrid green gunk all over the children, bringing back the vomit count. The little kids scramble but slip in the green slime. One kid starts screaming how it's burned in his eyes, probably worse than the soap did. The smell is so foul that 2 boys are lurched over, vomiting on the floor. Jillian tries to grab Slappy, but he's too busy snatching up the birthday boy and dragging him around the room. Slappy then declares this is his party now, and he wants his bride. Harrison is just standing there soaked in sludge and being useless. Slappy says if anyone goes upstairs, he'll hurt the birthday boy badly, and that this is no longer a birthday party, it's a wedding because I'm ready to claim the one who will be my slave for life. Jillian wants to know if Slappy gets his bride, will he leave them alone forever? Which he agrees to. She hands over Mary Ellen, and Slappy's like, I don't want that ugly piece of junk. Things then get real weird as Slappy declares, Jillian, you are my bride. Because I guess Slappy wants to marry a 12-year-old? That's uncomfortable. Slappy pulls Jillian close and says, you will be my slave. You'll be my slave for the rest of your life. In case we didn't get it the first time. A voice then suddenly rings out, let go of that girl, Slappy. She isn't your bride, I am. They all turn to spot Mary Ellen, who has also decided to start talking. The twins then reveal that Mary Ellen has been alive since the day their dad brought her home. Mary Ellen has made the twins act like little shits, and she was the one trashing the house. And she was also the one that brought Slappy back to life because she was ready for a husband. I appreciate that this book wasn't completely predictable to me at least. Mary Ellen then explains she's been out for revenge against Jillian because she slapped her and put her face in macaroni. So she still plans on making Jillian a slave, but more of a couple's slave than just Slappy's. I'm glad we got that cleared up. Slappy has other plans though, and suddenly smacks Mary Ellen across the face, knocking her to the ground, and tells her to learn to say goo goo. Maybe someone will think you're cute. Slappy then grabs Jillian by the wrist and squeezes until she cries out in pain. He then proceeds to smash his head into her face, knocking her to the ground, declaring it was just a love tap. Mary Ellen is now back awake and pulls Slappy to the floor where they start wrestling and rolling around in the green goo. They roll on over into the dad's workshop, which I guess is in the basement and not the garage like I assumed earlier. Slappy flicks on the buzzsaw and pushes Mary Ellen onto it, cutting her in half right down the middle Terrifier style. Except not all the way, because while Slappy is laughing triumphantly, Mary Ellen crawls over and pulls Slappy onto the buzzsaw too, cutting him in half at the waist. Jillian switches off the saw and stares at the 2 lifeless little terrors. Just before the chapter can end though, Slappy goes for an ankle grab scare. But this is really just the scream, one last scare moment, because Slappy then flops over dead. Kids flee the basement and Jillian struggles to explain all this to her parents. It jumps to later that night and Jillian, Harrison, and the twins are all watching TV. Harrison is reading Jimmy O. James's diary because apparently he stole it, but Stein didn't feel like telling us that until now. The diary states that even when the dolls are destroyed, the evil spirit can jump into the next closest thing. The twins then start giving evil grins, but in a final page twist, Jillian opens her mouth and proceeds to spray green gunk all over the twins. So that's how this one ends, with Jillian joining the vomit count too actually. We have our last episode of this little video series with Bride of the Living Dummy, which I'm kind of surprised only got 1 episode. I would have figured they could have stretched this one out for more Slappy, but let's just jump to it. The episode opens with some rooting through the trash and some special effects. And here is the star of the series. Well, he read the magic words. He's doomed.
Hello, Jimmy.
Slappy sounds a little chipmunky in this episode.
My name's Slappy, and I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
Slappy is being a real creeper this time around.
Fine-looking bunch of boys and girls. Don't you think they're a fine-looking bunch of boys and girls?
More slave talk from Slappy.
You are my slave, Jimmy. You are, and you aren't ever gonna be anything but.
Everyone has their hobbies, I suppose.
Just one more birdhouse, and I beat the world record.
I feel like Slappy mailed himself this time around.
Kevin, quiet. Now, who would send you a doll?
I'm concerned this is going to go in the same weird direction as the book.
She wants Slappy to stay upstairs in our bedroom with us. Well,
Slappy really chomps down here.
Katie, get this thing off me! Katie, help me! Get this thing!
I'm really hoping Slappy isn't after Mary Ellen this time. It just seems like someone on the show would be like, hold up, Slappy wants to marry who?
I want my bride.
This was a cool little transition scene. Aw, poor Kevin.
What?
I love when Goosebumps gets self-referential, this time with the Scarecrow walks at midnight. I love the shots where Slappy is standing up. He just looks silly. I was wondering when Mary Ellen would wake up. We have like 3 minutes left.
I've had just about enough of this dumb doll.
Who are you calling dumb, ugly? And what Mary Ellen wants, Mary Ellen gets.
Oh no. Slappy wants the 6-year-old.
I want her. You will be mine, Kitty. You will be my slave.
Now I'm ready to be your bride.
What? You? Oh,
There's some mutual destruction in this version with the buzzsaw.
there's plenty of me to go around.
Oh, we're getting some ghostly special effects too. This one is going its own way with one last scare. Overall, I thought Bride of the Living Dummy was really just kind of more of the same. Like with all of the Dummy books, it has its moments of fun. In particular, I enjoyed the revival of the green vomit sludge. I was legit surprised this book had more birthday party scenes, because I find it truly lazy that they couldn't even get something a little bit different. I also would have liked some more time with Mary Ellen and Slappy running around out in the open, because it was kind of contained just a handful of pages. The child bride stuff was also pretty out of left field, and I guess it accomplished its mission of being a twist. I'm still going to give this one 3 out of 5 wedding cakes. I just think if you're going to make a 4th sequel, you better have something new to say. Okay, just for fun, we're bringing back the vomit count for Series 2000, since it was paid dust in the original 62, and some comments on the last video said they missed the Goosebumps totals. Therefore, I am retroactively adding 1 to the count from Cry of the Cat last week, when Allison hacked up a hairball. This week, Bride of the Living Dummy delivers on the vomit. Our first is Slappy spewing putrid green goo all over a party of 6-year-olds. Vomits 2 and 3 are the result of Slappy's vomit, where these 2 poor 6-year-olds end up heaving all over the floor. The final vomit for the book is Jillian's surprise possession vomit on the last page of the book. This raises our Series 2000 vomit total to 5. Well, that's it for Bride of the Living Dummy. I wasn't very impressed with this one, and was kind of hoping for more. It wasn't bad though. Next week is Creature Teacher, which will be new to me, and I have to say I love the creature design on the cover. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Bride of the Living Dummy. How do you rank the Dummy books so far? Do you think Chris Hansen needs to meet with Slappy? Also, what did you think of my bride horror clips this week? Kill Bill isn't horror, but she is the bride after all, and one of my favorite movies. More so, Volume 1. Anyways, as always, thanks again for watching, and make sure you subscribe for
The bride. The love.